Morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It is Coffee with Coach Brandy. Can you believe another Wednesday is here? And it's actually our last Wednesday of September, which is really fascinating to me that October is right around the corner. I'm enjoying coffee out of another Shutterfly mug that I made. My husband, actually, I'm using it, but it's a celebration of a really cool concert festival that we did 2 years ago. Again, time flies. It feels like it was 6 months ago. And I love drinking coffee out of special cups. So I'd love if you guys could share maybe a picture of one of your coffee cups that you enjoy and like what's special about that cup. I always like to find that out. But today is talking about inclusive fitness and inclusive community. So this subject is pretty near and dear to my heart just because kind of the backstory of how Feed Your Soul Fitness kind of folded this into our philosophy. We really want to focus on that beginner to intermediate fitness level because I think gym intimidation is just too abundant these days, especially here in Denver. It's saturated, in my opinion, with the aggressive, intimidating fitness, right? You go in and it matters what your hair looks like, and if you're in full makeup, it matters if your clothes match and what brand they are, what shoes you've got, which socks you've got, what water bottle you're carrying, it all matters. And it makes you feel sometimes if you go in those environments and you don't have those things going on, you don't feel included. And inclusivity comes from my very long background of being bullied. I was bullied pretty, I don't say hardcore, but pretty intensely enough that it played a role in my life from middle school all the way through high school. Picked on for various things like my skin, my chest, my hair, not being super high on the social status. So I think I know that's really where the root and the seed of this comes from, was letting that Feed Your Soul Fitness environment have people come in that feel really comfortable. And it's literally come as you are. I don't care if you've brushed your hair in many days. I don't care if you are wearing mismatched clothes or your shirt has a hole in it, or if your shoes are dirty. Just come in. Well, I mean, I care if your shoes are dirty and you mess up my clean mats, but you know what I mean. But come as you are, right? And then that's from the physical appearance, because sometimes we don't have that space and that bandwidth to get ourselves being in some type of presentable manner. We might have to do that for our jobs or conferences, different, school, instances. But the gym is a place you should be able to go and be comfortable and feel really good. And that was key point number one for me. Creating this studio was just come in, feel great. Don't worry about wearing makeup. Don't worry about brushing your hair. Just come in, because I'd rather you come in that capacity than you thinking you need to look a certain way and then not coming in, because it only works if you show up. So we just wanted to kind of reduce those barriers for people that would maybe prevent them from showing up. And then, I think the other big barrier for inclusivity for gyms is kind of what I alluded to before, is that gym intimidation from a physical standpoint, what you can physically do. And I have absolutely experienced this. Obviously I take fitness a lot of different places in Denver. I like to know what's going on out there, from yoga studios to HIIT studios to spin studios, boot camp places. I'll just dabble and take a session every now and then. And I've taken, I've even been to a bar class within the last couple of years. And it's just mind blowing to me how, I went to a bar place, I'm not going to name who, but the front desk girl was the most unwelcoming, just cold, very just uppity, just very do you belong here? Are you on the list type person? And I was like, I'm here to pay you money to take a class from your business. I'm your customer. Shouldn't you be really welcoming to me? So I think that's another big thing about Feed Your Soul Fitness is our trainers are just really welcoming. They're really excited that you're there. I'm excited that you're there. So giving you guys that warm welcome is, I think, a big part of the inclusivity. But then for the actual workout, is the trainer there to meet you where you're at? Or is that workout something the trainer designed for them, right? So really making sure that wherever you go for your fitness, feels good to you, and it's movement that's good for your body. So if you're a beginner and you're going to like a really high intensity interval training type boot camp place, you're not going to feel great. They may say all levels, but what do they do? And that's something really important for inclusivity, because if you're going in and you're like mentally, physically, and emotionally primed up, and you're in there and you're already kind of getting those vibes of, man, I'm not wearing the right clothes, like she wasn't really welcoming on check-in, and now this workout is really hard, like that's going to give you an overall negative feeling and not really be that catalyst to like more working out and more fitness, which isn't going to help you with your fitness and exercise and health goals. So being really aligned with where you choose and trying out different places to see what do you like and what don't you like. Inclusivity can also, sorry to move that, be about like, we're kind of talking about like people of all abilities. So a big part of Feed Your Soul is learning like what is your starting point, because if you can't even get down to the ground and back up, you're not going to feel good in our group classes, and that's okay. But personal training would be a really great space for you, because you're going to have that private one-on-one connection with people, with a trainer rather, to help you learn how to get functionally down to the ground and then bring yourself back up, even if it's maneuvering with the support of a chair or a bench. But it's about setting you up for success. And I think a lot of these fitness places out here don't really talk about what your current starting point is. They're just like, cool, you're a person and you're paying us, jump in, here you go, jump on the wheel, whether you fit or not. And then if you fall on your face, you fall on your face. There's no follow-up. So I think that's another big thing to ask yourself. Like if you have physical limitations, be it your knees, your back, your shoulders, neck, like your hips, that's something to talk about with the business. They should be asking those questions to figure out what do they need to do to help accommodate for you specifically, and have a couple of options for you so that you are successful in what you start. Inclusive fitness equipment and tools is also important. So like I alluded to, if you do struggle getting down to the floor, and let's say the class is doing push-ups, is there a wall available for you to do elevated push-ups? Is there a bench for you to do elevated push-ups? If we're doing balance work and maybe standing on a BOSU doesn't feel good for you, is there an option for you to stand single leg on the floor? You're still working on balance, but it's not as complicated or more challenging with the BOSU. So really considering the different levels of where people are at when you're trying to train them via cardio, balance, agility, strength, and having the people be able to choose what's right for them is what's going to empower them. And then that's where the catalyst of like, hey, I'm really proud of myself. I was able to balance for 30 seconds on my right hand leg while we did bicep curls today. Sure, some of the other people in the training session were on a BOSU doing maybe more of a challenging option, but I was able to do this. And that leads to my second point, is the inclusive language of the fitness facility, specifically from the coaches. Believe me, I've had some poor bedside manners. Again, that bar place, she was tough, right? And like, I'm not a bar person. I actually used to teach it, but that was more than a decade ago. So my body is different now, right? And like I told you, I did this bar class in the last couple of years, and I couldn't do a lot of the stuff. But there wasn't this, I didn't feel included, because the languaging that she used for where I was struggling made me feel actually worse. Like I wasn't good enough. I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't flexible enough. And there weren't options for me to try something else. It was just, this is what we're doing. It's hard, suck it up and do it, and just, blah, blah, blah. Like that didn't make me feel successful, which is why in our community, I'm always talking to our trainers. And you should be getting that experience of like, hey, here's the exercise. We have this to make it easier. We have this to make it harder. Like you do you. But it's also in the language of how that's presented. And that was the big thing for me in this Pilates situation, was it was just like, you can't do this. Why? Like, what's wrong with your body? Is that not working for you? And it's like, it's all in how it's presented. So if it's like, hey, if this is feeling great for you, you've got this option. If you want to take it a little bit further, here's this option. So it's not saying, oh, for those of you who are advanced in this class, you're going to want to do this challenging. For the others that can't keep up, you're going to do this. And believe me, I've heard that type of language. So you might be like, well, Brandy, that's pretty extreme. It is, but it's just true. So the language of the coach, like there really shouldn't be a language like, you can't do this so, you should do that. Like, it's like, oh, well, if that's not feeling good, try this on for size. And I think that is an explorative type of dialogue of like, oh, my body actually isn't enjoying that, but this is an option, versus just defeat. I can't do this. Like, we already have enough of that dialogue going on in our own heads. So inclusive, like, equipment, tools, and language and options are really important when you're seeking out fitness support, especially when you're already suffering from poor confidence. I think that's really important. So as far as like space and environment inclusivity, we actually pride ourselves on not having mirrors in our studio. Mirrors, I think there's pros and cons to everything. But from what I've experienced when I was a trainer for about 5, 6, 7 years in Denver, working at about 6 places, all of them had mirrors. And everybody would kind of talk to me about their thought process with the mirror. And I think hands down for like the power yoga I taught, having the mirrors was really, really helpful. That's where people probably appreciated it the most, but there was still that connotation of, but then I was looking over at her and she could do that arm balance and I couldn't. The mirrors also kind of defeat from the mind-body connection because you're looking at yourself. And it's good, like, right, you want to look at yourself and make sure you're in proper alignment and everything. And we do have a handful of smaller mirrors specifically for our small group training so that squats, deadlifts, things like that, we can really see ourselves to make sure we're in proper form. But from a group class standpoint, especially when the coach is making sure you're in proper form, having that mirror there can be a distraction. It can lead to comparison. And then it can really just take away that mind-body connection and just make it about what you see. And I often encourage people in safe exercises like a plank or a sit-up, where they're feeling safe, to close their eyes and to just feel what is happening within their body. What muscles are activating? What is tight? What is not activated? How are they breathing? And all of that can be explored without the visual piece. So I think mirrors can kind of lead to a not ideal inclusive environment, especially from that comparison standpoint. So be, considerate of that, and know that if you come to Feed Your Soul Fitness in our main training area, there are no mirrors. So, when you kind of tie all of this together, this is what creates this path towards health for everyone, including you. So we've heard so many times, because 10 years we've been doing this. When I ask people, like, what about Feed Your Soul Fitness kind of sparked their interest? A lot of times they'll be like, well, I looked at your website, or I saw your ad, I saw your pictures of people and they look like me. And I feel like I can be me here. And that's exactly the mission that I wanted to accomplish. So I feel really good and really confident with that. And we're going to keep rolling with it. So if you're watching this and you're not a member and you're like, man, I struggle with some of these things, know that you're going to feel that with us, whether you join us online for our remote training via Zoom. You can do this from anywhere, you guys. We have people in all different 50 states joining us for our online Zoom workouts. If you're local, come into the community. You will feel it even exponentially more. So it's a very welcoming, non-intimidating environment. I talk about that a lot, but this inclusivity is just another bucket of that dialogue. And I think when you think about your consistency to exercise, I think that inclusivity can play a role in whether you're consistent or not. Is that an environment that pulls you in, that you're like, man, I need to go there. Like, I fill my cup when I'm there. And that's what Feed Your Soul aims to do, is we want to be that third place. It's not work and it's not home. These are not the places, those are the places that you are giving. Feed Your Soul wants to be that place where you take. Our cups are full for you to take from. And in that inclusive environment, you will feel comfortable, you will feel seen, you will feel heard. And that is the Feed Your Soul difference. So I'd love for you guys to experience this. If you're new to us, I would love to give you a free group class, whether you want to join us online or in the studio, so you can test it out, not worry about any obligation or paying any money. Just come in, take a free class, feel that difference for yourself. And for any of you guys who are members, thank you for joining, Kelly, April, and Aubrey. I appreciate you guys being online. Feel free to drop comments below about like what your experience at Feed Your Soul is. Hi, Shar, glad you joined. Maybe what your definition of inclusivity is, or maybe one of those inclusivity categories that I talked about. Maybe there's one that kind of struck a chord with you and you're like, yeah, that one's me. That's all about me. Whether it's the language, or maybe it's like the modifications, maybe it's just like the clothing and the hair and the makeup. Like, that one for me is really big. I feel like I can go into the studio and be who I am, but still feel respected and still feel connected with. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. I'm back to my coffee. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you guys online soon. Have a good day. Bye.